Well, one thing that we do know is that traditional training methods don't work. We've all been on training sessions where we've had a great day out in a hotel somewhere, eating good food, drinking lots of coffee, learning some good information. But the reality is when we go back into the workplace the next day, that there's very little use of that new information. So what we then do is we know that knowledge is there, but we use occupational standards to be able to underpin that knowledge and use that as a framework then to help embed the knowledge over a longer time, thus creating a change in behaviour. I guess what I should do is explain a little bit more about occupational standards. Occupational standards have been developed by industry for industry, and they are standards of competence for most job functions within the UK now. So we have occupational standards for the police force, with ambulance drivers, for business administrators, and we certainly have them in sales. So let me give you an example of some occupational standards. Within sales, we have them at different levels. We have them from level 1 through to level 7, 1 being typically somebody that's thinking about coming into sales. A level 2 and 3 are people that are actually performing sales functions. 4, 5 and 6 tend to be line management and senior management, and 6 and 7 start coming into sales directors and senior director levels. And those that have done apprenticeships, for example, will be very familiar with occupational standards because most of the apprenticeship skills are based on levels 2s and 3s levels of competence, and so a lot of our training and development is based around level 3 competency based. So let me show you an example of one of those. It's entitled Prospecting for New Business, and it's one of 10 or 12 at that level that we can use to support people that are actually doing selling. But I'm sure you'd agree that prospecting for new business is fundamental in having for a salesperson. And if we look at this in more detail, we'll find that there's actually 3 component parts to this. First is the capability of being able to plan to prospect for new business. Prospecting is absolutely fundamental for a salesperson. We've got to be able to analyse information so that we can create prospect lists, so that we can make sure that the people that we're approaching are the right types of prospect, that they're the right demographic, that they're the people that are likely to buy our products and services, i.e. we can help qualify the people to approach. And then we've actually got to go in and do some of those. So the third part is be able to make appointments with that customer base, with the prospect base. And if we drill down even further, so we'll go back to the first task being able to prepare and plan for new business, we'll come across specific skills. So one of those, 1.2, is sourcing information to identify potential sales leads. So what does that actually mean? Well, that means we've got to be able to find ways of where we're going to get new prospects from. Is that through scanning through databases? Are we inheriting a database pool from a previous occupant of that position? Or have we got to create our own lists? Can we go to database providers? Or have we got to scour through lists on the internet to be able to try and find people that we can approach? Or can we use other social media topics like LinkedIn, Facebook, etc. to be able to find people that we'd like to approach? So that starts getting in to create a prospect list. And by identifying that need, we can start showing people how we do that, or a mentor or a line manager could show people how they do that on a day-to-day basis, and we can keep coming back to that to see whether or not they're becoming efficient at it. So as you can see, these break a roll down into particular functions and features. So I can begin to use them to create a job description as a manager. So I can pull 3 or 4, 5 different units together with the skills that I know that I need when I'm recruiting a particular individual. I can then use them, once I've created that job spec, to interview, so that I can make sure that that individual has either got those skills or is aware of the skills that they'd need, or we can identify actually they've got a number of the skills but have got a need to learn other skills and then I can make a judgment of whether I recruit that person effectively or not. I can then start using them to do some form of needs analysis, some form of assessment on that individual's skills, so I can use them for training needs analysis. I can then start using them once we know that there's a skill gap on a common framework to be able to use to be able to improve performance, so I can start the actual training on specific elements that we know that they're deficient in. And then ultimately I can use them then to help coach other people or help my line managers coach people in a mentoring fashion perhaps around those skills and that skill improvement. Well, I've used sales particularly to emphasise the use of occupational standards, but the standards are in, as I mentioned earlier, most occupations. So in our other areas we have leadership and management development, and we've got lots and lots of standards in there on leadership and management. All of the coaching services and support we provide are underpinned by coaching skills standards, so there are occupational standards and performance expectations around coaching. So all of our provision of service are supported and referenced by using occupational standards.